So what you found out as well during your time before the judge, the fact that here you were, an outstanding father, you built your life around the children, you have a business right now that you can actually spend your time with them. But if you were to compare your lifestyle to their mother's lifestyle, there's quite a contrast, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So she gets to work for her dad when she wants to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she had a standstill. Her dad has a couple companies,
mm-hmm.
and so she was working for her dad, and she decides that he's not paying her enough, and so she quits. And so she decides not to work for a long period of time,
mm-hmm.
and then she decides that she's gonna start her own house cleaning business, which
mm-hmm.
I was completely proud of her for it.
Right.
And you know, I was hoping that it was the truth. Didn't really know if it was or not, but you know, I was proud of her for, you know, kind of taking a step to, you know, be and try to create a life like, you know, like I've created to, you know,
mm-hmm.
where she can be around the kids. But she created a life to where she was just dependent on other men,
mm-hmm.
and so she wasn't working. She had got with another guy that was just taking care of her, and
mm-hmm.
she was, you know, so she got dependent on him.
mm-hmm.
But he started being physically abusive to her
mm-hmm.
in front of the kids, locking her out of the house, choking her. My daughter's afraid to even come out of her room to go to the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the kind of life she created for herself. But they want me to take responsibility for her not being able to take care of the kids on her own.
Right.
And so like they even like, you know, tried to scald me for being able to go to school events. Like I don't miss school events, and I'm there at everything that they do. I coach all their teams, like all of that. And they said, but you can create your own schedule, can you? And I was like, yeah, but I built a life that put my kids first.
Right. Now, when you talk about school events and coaching your kids' teams, are you talking about here where you live, or are you talking about when they're with their mother?
Here, where they live here.
Okay. But nevertheless, when they're with their mother is what, probably 125 miles away, 130, 140 miles away?
2 hours away.
2 hours away. But I heard you say that when they're with her, you still even take the time to go to their school events all the
Absolutely.
time.
Every time. I've never missed a school event, whether it was in Tyler or Texarkana.
Okay. But there was a different thing that you also talked about. Your lifestyle is much more responsible.
Yes.
Hard worker. You've worked many days in work in the oil field is not easy stuff.
No,
I know.
It's not.
and I mean, I can understand why, even though it's good money, man, it beats you down after a while. But what I heard when I listened to your video, and what we've talked a little bit about here, the mother has had a life that is quite the opposite of that. Have you ever done drugs?
No.
Is the mother somebody who has done drugs?
Yes.
Is that on a regular basis?
I'm not around her on a regular basis to know,
mm-hmm.
but there's been enough instances where my children are in danger because of her drug use.
So they've been in danger because of her drug use. Have they been in danger because of her drinking at the same time?
Yes.
While they were driving a car?
Yes.
So you have your children right now, or if you want to say, when I say your children, I'm not trying to just make them your, like, you know, they're your possession or something, but you have the two children, you've got the children that are involved.
Right.
And they're being put in danger by a mother who is driving while drunk,
Right.
who is driving while on drugs. You've also mentioned something that when you went to the house, you found, were they loaded guns?
Guns on the floor of the garage, just laying there.
So,
exposed.
and it wasn't just like tiny guns, were they?
No.
So, multiple guns on the garage floor. This is not really what I would consider to be a safe environment.
Absolutely not.
Now, you've told all of this to the judge, right?
Yes.
And what did the judge say after all of this?
He said he was going to keep the papers the same and take the kids out of the schools that they're in and move them back to their mom's house.
So when they were living with you, because their mother said, please, can you take these children?
Absolutely.
So they've been living with you for about 10 months out of 2019, and you never withheld them from her as far as I know. Is that correct?
When she tried to get them back,
mm-hmm.
after she had that incident where she was impaired, you know, high and probably drunk,
mm-hmm.
with my daughter in the car,
mm-hmm.
and my daughter texted me for help, you know, telling me that, you know, she was, you know, her mom was high.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want her to have them back,
right?
And so I did keep them from her until we got ready to go to court.
Yeah.
And so,
but that was the only time. I mean, other than that, from everything that I've heard, you were willing to do anything just so that you would have a cordial relationship, because that would be better for the children.
Yes, sir.
So, but then the judge heard all of this evidence. I mean, the judge obviously has now said, well, know that you've built up a life for yourself and everything so that you can be with the children. The judge heard evidence that the mother was using drugs around the children. The mother was with a very abusive person that was causing such abuse that your daughter, is it your daughter together, or is it adopted daughter? What is that?
It's my adopted daughter. I adopted her when she was 2.
Okay, so your adopted daughter is afraid to leave the room because of the abuse going on. You mentioned in front of the judge that there were loaded guns in the garage floor. You mentioned about the issues both with drinking and with drug abuse. And the judge said, even after they've had this entire life of stability with you, we're going to take them from you.
Yes.
And this judge's name is?
Jeff Addison.
Jeff Addison. From everything that you've said, I don't understand how he would make the decision. But let me ask another question. Was there any perjury that was committed in front of Jeff Addison?
Absolutely. Over and over again.
Was the attorney able to point out the perjury?
Absolutely.
Was it evident to anybody who would have been there that there was perjury?
Yes, sir.
And so even in the midst of the fact that the children had a very stable life with you, they were in danger with their mother in multiple ways. She was committing perjury, and the judge still took the children from you.
Still took the children from her. And it was the perjury was so evident that she was having to read off text messages between the two of us. And he asked her, are these text messages between you guys? And she was like looking at her lawyer for like help, and he couldn't say anything because they hadn't been admitted into evidence. And he said, have these text messages been altered in any way? And she said no. And then he made her read the text messages back, and it totally contradicted what she had just answered.
Yeah.
Now, do you drink and drive? No. What kind of beverage is that in your hand? She actually sent me a beverage, her drinking and driving, steering wheel behind the cup, and she said, I'm not in any hurry to meet today. I had a wild night.
Wow. And
he said, what kind of beverage is that? And she said, a frozen drink. He said, is it an alcoholic frozen drink? She said, yes. He said, is that the steering wheel of your car behind that drink?
Yeah.
She said, yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was over and over again, that type of perjury.
Yeah. I mean, it's inexcusable for the judge not to know. So, I mean, what did your attorney say?
I mean, he was baffled by the whole thing. He said, man, I think we had a strong case. He said, you just never know what these judges are going to do sometimes. And, you think the case is going great. Because you have perjury, you have the alcohol, you have the drugs, you have the guns, she lost the kids in the woods right after this past Christmas.
Yeah, go ahead and say that as well.
I mean, she on December 27th, the kids are out playing. They waived, they used her dad over and over again in the case like he mattered, like he was like in the case himself.
Uh-huh.
Like, whose property you live on? Oh, my dad. Oh, 600 acres. So they live on 600 acres. Her and 3 or 4 of her sisters live side by side. Mm-hmm. Their kids just go out and play. Nobody watches them. Mm-hmm. So my kids, 5 and 6. CJ just turned 7, but December he was 5. They were 5 and 6, and then they had a 7-year-old cousin. She was with them. They took off exploring into the woods, is how she explained it. Mm-hmm. So a 10-year-old cousin went with them at first, and then he comes back without the kids. 5, 6, and 7-year-old out in 600 acres. Nobody knows where they are. And so they get out on 4-wheelers and ATVs, search party for a 5, 6, and 7-year-old who should have had adult eyes on them in the first place. My kids got about a mile away from her house on foot into the woods. 600 acres. Somebody just happened to go the right way.
Or who knows what would have happened to them.
Who knows?
And the judge knew all about this.
Judge knew all about this.
How do you explain this?
As you can explain it.
Yeah.
And I want to know how he came up with the ruling that he came up with.
Yeah.
With my kids being safely in my home, enrolled in school, relationships, they're in extracurricular activities, they're safe.
Yeah.
And I point out every flaw and unsafe environment that they're exposed to with their mom.
Yeah.
And one being as recent as December 27th.
Yeah.
3 weeks prior, and you just sweep it all under the rug.
Yeah. Have your children expressed a desire with whom they want to live?
Absolutely. My youngest son, Jackson, she just picked him up yesterday, and he cried. He didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And I had to just talk to him and kind of let him understand that it's going to be okay, and he could come back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't understand that because he's used to living with me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not going to see you for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what that means.
Yeah. Yeah. And, people talk about the issue of parental alienation. And parental alienation is when one parent turns a child against the other parent through brainwashing, through saying things that are insinuating that this person is a bad person, maybe that person's dangerous. Mm-hmm. I don't hear any of that coming from you.
No.
I mean, if anything, you've been trying to keep the relationship strong. So at least at the very least cordial. Mm-hmm. I don't hear that you've ever said that you've really cut down their mother.
No. In fact, I help her even, talk to them and even get them under control when they're at her house. Mm-hmm. Like anytime something goes, bad in her house, or not even bad, just a situation she can't control, mm-hmm. she FaceTimes me with one of my sons just crying uncontrollably in front of the camera. Like, he's been crying for 30 minutes. Can you just get him to stop?
Yeah. So this is incredible.